What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Stevekaneki here with my first ever movie review for YouTube. I've been wanting to do YouTube for a little while now, and I'm very excited to be bringing you guys a fresh, raw first impressions of Captain Marvel from my YouTube channel. I said, why not make this my debut video for YouTube? We're going to go ahead and get into this. This channel is going to have a lot of different content, from sneaker unboxings, video game reviews, music, sports, podcasts with a few friends if I can get them on board. But we're doing this channel for you guys, so let me know what you guys think and let me know what you guys want in the comment section below. Don't be afraid to leave a like. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm going to be leaving my social media links down below in the description box. So without further ado, we're going to get into this review. This review is going to be a little different. I'm going to be referencing other MCU films and explain why Captain Marvel just didn't work for me. Captain Marvel was told to be the strongest MCU character. I don't like how they did that before the movie came out. I understand why they did it, because you want to get people excited. But you're an outside source telling the audience why they should look in and be excited. They didn't show that. I felt that the movie started out as her standing up. She goes through a few scenes and less emotion over and over and over again where I couldn't relate to her. And by the end of the movie, she's just a lady that's just glowing. Going into this review, I stumbled upon a certain point I wanted to make. These two films, in my opinion, are some of the best two films in the MCU, in my opinion. Black Panther was marketed inside Civil War. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't mean to have Black Panther make as much money, but when you put another character that has an entire arc in another person's movie, that's incredible. That's why Black Panther, I believe, got marketed correctly. The teaser trailer at the end of 2017, because Black Panther came out in 2018 in February, Valentine's Day weekend, you know, it had the marketing window. It had 2 months to do its thing before Infinity War came out, April 26th, I believe, which they pushed it up 2 weeks early because it was supposed to be May 4th. The reason why I bring those up first is because Chadwick Boseman played T'Challa so good in Civil War. The movie technically had nothing to do with him. He really didn't have to be in that movie. The reason why I bring that point up is because he had an entire arc in Civil War. Let's not forget. He had his stinger at the end of the movie where they showed the big Black Panther statue when he's talking to Steve Rogers. He fights with Bucky, Steve Rogers' best friend. He even talks with the main antagonist, or one of the main antagonists in the film, because, you know, if you pick Steve Rogers or Iron Man, you're basically, you know, Team Steve or Team Iron Man, whatever the case may be. So, but he talks with one of the antagonists, Baron Zemo, at the end of the film, right? He says he's done letting vengeance consume him because of the death of his father, because he believes that Bucky killed his father. But once he hears from Baron Zemo's own mouth say, that's why I did the explosion in Vienna during the Sokovia Accords meeting, that's when he realized, okay, this is way bigger than me. Going on to the Avengers. The Avengers film, the first one, I believe was done correctly. You had the reference about the Tesseract. Loki was a great villain from the Thor films. Even Loki was in Thor Ragnarok. Loki is a big staple in the MCU, especially my favorite villain, Thanos, who shows up in every single Avengers film. And what does he do at the end, guys? He smiles. He even smiled at the end of Infinity War. He got his goal done. My whole point about cross-referencing films and MacGuffins and other movies is you market them correctly to get the crowd excited. When it comes to Captain Marvel, however, unfortunately, it wasn't done right. We went through a drought waiting for this trailer. Waiting for the trailer was very, very exhausting. I remember I was just like, last year, when is this trailer coming? When is this trailer coming? And it finally hit, and I remember I was just like, no, it didn't work. I was excited, but I watched it again because I went through a honeymoon phase. I thought it was great at first because she lit up, she looked like a Super Saiyan. The buddy cop system between Samuel L. Jackson and Brie Larson was done phenomenally. I loved it, like it was great. But like I said, the movie just fell flat when it came to the action. The soundtrack reminded me of these epic battle scenes where I was like, okay, this is cool here and there, but then they had 90s music, of course. The 90s nostalgia, I felt like it was too much after a while. It was cute, it was cool, but after a while I just felt like my head was getting beaten over with it. Like, did you catch that? Like, yeah, guys, I'm 26. I was born in 92. I lived there. Like, I remember that. Now we're going to talk about the plot. First of all, the scrolls, the prosthetics looked amazing. It was definitely top notch. Like, the phasing in and out was greatly done. I'm not going to spoil who was a scroll. The plot of this movie, I felt that they didn't know what to do with it. The script felt very passed around. There's a lot of cliche plot holes, and sorry to say this, guys, but the MCU with this film now being a staple is now retconned. They didn't fix a lot of retcons. There's a lot of contradictions that didn't make sense. I'm not going to spoil the big one that was referenced in one of the other MCU films, but I was like, really? Like, this is what the big reveal was? Okay. Whatever, you know? I'm sorry, I like certain scenes, I'm gonna buy it, but I don't want to drag on too much and just make it seem like I just hated this movie, and I really hope you guys don't think by watching this review, you're like, damn, Steve, you didn't say one good thing about the movie, but a few prosthetics and stuff like that. Brie Larson in Captain Marvel, to me, was an emotionalist, hard to connect to outer shell. I'm gonna try and make this next point as quick as possible so I don't take up any more of you guys' time. And I really appreciate you guys for sticking around and hearing what I gotta say. One of my main problems with superhero films in general is just the characterization and development when they have a shared universe. With that being said, it's like these studios that move on to other films, or they have different directors and producers or writers that they just pick up off the street or whatever it is. They either haven't watched any of the other MCU films or movies in their shared universe, or they just don't do enough research on the character to make people be able to gravitate towards them, or they just don't give a damn. One of the three. It's something in there where they just drop the ball halfway through production of the movie. And I understand, because you have a deadline, things get expensive. I'm not here to say I can make a perfect superhero film. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is I'm sticking up for the people that don't know or have expanded knowledge on characters like Captain Marvel. I'm not here to bash those people for not knowing who she is, because I completely understand the lore is just missing, or the lore was never there for her character. As I mentioned earlier, the marketing for this movie was done terribly. The marketing for a movie as far as Black Panther and Civil War was done right, because in Civil War, you think that by the first trailer, you think that Steve is the villain, because if you pay attention to the camera, it's zooming in at the table and there's no other Avengers around him. They're speaking to Steve as if he's the villain, and you're like, oh wow, like, what did Steve do? So you get interested. I never agreed with this. I didn't want Marvel to show Spider-Man in the second Civil War trailer. I wanted it to be a surprise. But I understand why they did it, because they wanted to get ticket sales. So that further interested more people to go see the movie. Going back to Black Panther's marketing, you had him in Civil War. When you have a movie like Thor Ragnarok, he's been established in other MCU films because he was in Avengers. He had his own 3 movies, and they made their money. The first 2 Thor movies, in my opinion, weren't the best, but he still follows up with his track record because what he did in those movies to prove he's the strongest Avenger. That's my point I'm trying to drive home. You talk about Captain Marvel being the strongest Avenger, but you don't provide that information for me as a moviegoer or just a fan to make you take your side on that bold statement. When you're going to make a bold statement like that, I need to see someone like Thor fight the army of Surtur, or like Michael Keaton's character that's stealing from the government basically in Spider-Man Homecoming, and willing to beat the hell out of a teenage kid. Willing to go there with a teenage kid. Killmonger, threatening to kill anybody, his girlfriend. He killed basically anybody that he felt that got in his way to stop him to get in Wakanda. Captain Marvel, however, her development to me fell flat. I didn't understand her drives, her motives. What does she want? What is she needing? Because, like I said, the identity crisis kept messing with this movie. It didn't do anything for me as far as making me feel that she's the strongest Avenger. Like her shooting the laser beams out of her hands, the learning how to fly all of a sudden because whatever, she just gets this Super Saiyan like power aura around her. I didn't feel that it was enough, and I just feel that that's what's missing with this film altogether. But when you talk about other characters in the MCU that have done so much more, to me they're stronger heroes than her. I get that their power scales are on different levels. I'm not here to compare people who can blow down a building and who can punch a hole in Steve's shield. No, I'm saying as far as you make a bold statement like that, you need to live up to it, just straight up. So that's all I wanted to say. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.